Hi guys, my name is Jasmine, and I am your small town Grey Witch, here to talk to you about one of my famous and fabulous families of Iceland folklore, also known as the Yule Lads and Gryla. We also hear about the Yule Cat, and we don't hear much about their dad. This is a huge family in Iceland and actually replaces the whole St. Nicholas or Santa Claus. They don't actually believe in Santa Claus. They have this family instead. Yule is one of the best and brightest times of the year, but with this family, we're looking at them in a darker note. They were actually even outlawed, so that way the government said that parents couldn't use them to scare the bejesus out of their children anymore. So, let's look at this entire family first. We have Gryla, LeppaLudi, we have the 13 Yule Lads, and the Yule Cat. We'll go over each and one of them individually in detail. So, the big one is Gryla. Gryla is the Yule Lad's mother. She has good pictures about her, but most of the time, we'll see her as a hideous beast or an ogre. She is known as a giantess, an ogre, or a troll in most stories. However, she could also become a poor beggar, begging for parents to give their kids away. Have your kids been naughty lately? Well, please give me your kids. I'm starving. Just give me your kids. I'll take your naughty kids off your hands. And what does she do with these kids? She brings them up into the mountains where this whole family lives and cooks them into a stew. She was known as a witch or a troll giantess figure, but wasn't actually related to Christmas until the 17th century, where she became a Christmas crossover. Gryla, striking fear in the kids, her name loosely translated to Growler, became an extremely foreboding warning to children who misbehaved. She is seen in a couple of different actual movies and sitcoms in our media nowadays. However, she is not necessarily well known. We see her in Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
So it's not poltergeists, it's the Yule Lads.
Impish spirits of children that come down from the mountains every midwinter to cause mischief in the unguarded homes of witches. They must have gotten in when the Yule fire went out.
Right, so he banished the buggers.
Well, that's not so easy, love. I mean, the Yule Lads are like bed bugs. Once they get into your house, they're very difficult to get rid of.
Indeed, they won't leave until their mother tells them to.
Their mother being Gryla.
Dare I ask, who's Gryla?
A very dangerous witch. During a famine, she and another woman from her coven made a pact. They would eat their own children to survive.
Seriously, what is it with witches and cannibalism?
They cooked and devoured Gryla's son first, her only child. And then the other witch broke their pact. Devastated, Gryla spent the last 1,000 years trying to replace her lost babe. She's forever adding children, particularly orphans, to her so-called family.
So, and I should say The Misadventures of Sabrina on Netflix, one of my favorites. However, we've also been seeing her pop up in the new movie Red One on Amazon Prime. And I don't want to give any clips of that one because it's awesome and it's definitely new, but I can tell you that she's definitely in it. So I don't want to give any hints or ruin the story for you. Now, Gryla isn't only the mother of this family. Let's talk about the father. Now, do we know much about the father? No. We don't even know if he's technically the actual father of the Yule Lads. So Gryla is actually known to have 3 husbands. LeppaLudi, if you ignore my bad accent, is actually the 3rd husband. The first 2 she got sick of and ate. Now, LeppaLudi is actually known for doing nothing around the cave. We know nothing about him other than he is lazy and he sits there. He doesn't travel off the mountain that we know of in any of the folklore. He literally just sits in his cave, and that's where he stays. However, he does eat what Gryla cooks, if you get my drift. So, now let's go over the Yule Lads. Gotta love those pesky little Yule Lads, right? So, when we think of Yule Lads, we think of young buckaroos. Well, this family has been depicted as children, yes, in a lot of the media and commercials, but mostly we see them in art forms as like almost old men with Gryla. It's quite odd how the age of the word lad is different. So, they can range from, in different stories, anywhere from 9 to 22 Yule Lads, but you'll see the common number of 13. We have to also put the Yule Lads in actual context with the time that these stories were going on. So, they don't actually have names, they more have descriptions as names, and you'll see what I'm talking about as I describe each one. We're going to go over the 13 of them, when they show up, and the mischief they cause. So, in the beginning stories, you would leave your shoes by the windowsill, and if you were a good girl or boy, they would give you treats in your shoes. But if you were a bad boy or girl, then each one had its own kind of chaos that it brought. The first one came on December 11th night. His name was Sheep Coat Claude. He drinks your sheep's dry, and he has 2 peg legs. So you'd hear him clink, 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 and he would just lay under all of your sheep and drink them dry. Now, if you think about that, during the winter, they were trying to store the sheep's milk for the family. So drinking every single sheep dry might have caused the family to not have milk, which means not have bread or plenty of other baked goods. On December 12th night, or December 13th eve, however you want, you got Gully Gulk. He steals froth from the milk of the buckets. So the froth was actually a treat for the family. It's very sweet, very yummy, and he would steal all of the froth, so none of the family could actually eat it. On December 13th, the night of December 13th, you got Stubby. Yes, he was called Stubby because he was short in stature. And he steals the pan to eat the crust off of them. So if there was any leftovers in your pan, he would eat all the crusts. And all the dried little bits. Now, on the night of December 14th, you had Spoon Licker. He was tall and very thin, and he steals all of the spoons to lick them clean and put all of his saliva on them. And if you haven't noticed a slight pattern with these, a lot of it is theft. On the night of December 15th, you had Pot Licker, and he steals all of your leftovers in your pots. On December 16th, the night of December 16th, you had Bowl Licker. He would hide under your bed, and he would steal from the asker? I actually had to look this up. It's a plate or bowl used for all of the meals, and it would have a lid, so you could eat, and then you close it, and you could have leftovers. Well, he would actually lick all of that out, leaving your bowl nothing but his gross saliva. On the night of December 17th, you had Door Slammer. Now, Door Slammer was actually one of the few that didn't steal. All he did was like to run around your house and slam doors. So all night you could not sleep. On the night of December 18th, you had the Skern Gobbler. Apparently the Skyr or Skur, it's Skyr. I'm not Icelandic, so please forgive me on this. It's like this Icelandic yogurt that is actually like almost a dessert-ish kind of thing, and people from Iceland are obsessed with this. Well, if you had some standing in your ice chest or sitting somewhere safe for you, he would eat it all. So you wouldn't get any tasty treats this winter at all. So, the night of December 19th was Sausage Swiper. Hides in the rafters and steals all the smoked sausages. Now again, if you've prepped your sausages and you have them hung up and they're drying out, this food needed to last throughout the winter. So if you had a little elf coming in, or even several little elves coming in and stealing that hard food that you worked for, this could actually lead to starvation or things like that for the Icelandic people. So, on the night of December 20th, you had Window Peeper. Now, I know all of our people, like, we think Window Peeper and we're like, that's wrong. Well, he would peep in your windows for all the things that he could steal. So he wasn't one thing he would steal. He would steal all the little nicky-knack good things, whatever he could get his hands on, really. You had a Doorway Sniffer. He had a very long nose, and he came on the night of December 21st. He had a very, very long nose, and usually sneaks out. I'm going to try to pronounce this word. It's Laffabröd. It's like a leaf bread. So again, it's a special type of bread that the Icelandic people make during this time of year. And he would actually seek out that bread by using his very long nose. So that way they couldn't have their bread in the mornings or during their Yule feasts. Then you have on the night of December 22nd, you had Meat Hook. Yes, this Yule Lad's name is Meat Hook. And he would come down the chimney with a huge hook of meat, and he would or I should say a huge meat hook, and he would fling and grab the meat and steal it and pull it out and run away with it. So again, it's all about thievery, but a lot of it's with food, which was a very big survival thing when it came to people in the time of these folklores. The next one came on the night of December 23rd. So it would be literally 24th you came the big guns, but this is the night of December 23rd. You'd have Candle Stealer. Now, candles were made out of like an animal fat or lard, and they had to burn and keep the light going throughout the winter. And they would do a lot with heat with candles. And Candle Stealer stole them and ate the candles because they were made out of like an animal fat. So you would have no candles, no light, no heat other than your house fire. And that was a big deal, to have light at night when you're going to your bedroom or going here or going there. That was a big deal. That's how they got around. And then you would have no candles. So you got to think about it in a way of their terms. Because it really actually hurt the people. So, we didn't have names for the Yule Lads for a very long time. And that's okay. They were just known to show up. But in a poem in 1932, titled the poem titled "The Yule Lads," actually described all 13 of these Yule Lads, which is why we have these descriptions as names nowadays. This poem, if you do want to read it, you would have to look in a book called Christmas is Coming, and it will have poems and things like that, and short stories and yada yada. But the poem is titled "The Yule Lads," and that was a very famous poem in 1932, and that's when the names really stuck. So other than that, you'd have different people calling them different things. Alright? So those are the Yule Lads and Gryla. Now, let's talk about their furry feline companion. Now, the Yule Cat. You have to think, the Yule Cat is actually Gryla's pet. So, Gryla is a huge big troll. So she's not going to have a tiny house cat like we know now. She's actually going to have a huge, giant, freaking ball of floof. And you have to think, it's winter, so the cat's got to be warm and floofy and fuzzy and evil. Funny thing is, what did the Yule Cat do? So, back in that time, they would actually harvest all of the fur, or like, not the fur, the sheep's wool and things like that, in the harvest in the fall, so the sheep had time to grow it back throughout the winter. Makes sense. And they would have to spin it and weave in the cotton, well, not the cotton, but the wool, spin it, weave it, and then make clothing. And they wanted to make that clothing before winter, where they needed it to stay warm. Well, the Yule Cat is actually a warning for those who slack off on that chore. And you wonder how. So, I love this little picture. It says, your chances of getting eaten by the Yule Cat are low, but not zero. So, I bet you can guess what the Yule Cat's main purpose is. The Yule Cat would go around after Yule, after Christmas. And if you didn't have nice new clothing to wear, the Yule Cat would eat you whole. And he would peek through and see anybody who was looking a little shabby, and that person would be eaten. It was more of a warning or test of time to say, get your chores done, or you could be eaten by the Yule Cat. So, the Yule Cat was strong enough to actually take on pretty much everybody, but it's a cat. He was strong enough to take on Krampus and whomever else. He was fluffy, and he was adorable. But he would eat you whole if you didn't have clothes. And, just so you're aware, because everyone wants to know what the Yule Cat's name is, it's Yule Katurin. That was the Yule Cat's name, is Yule Katurin. And excuse my American accent as I pronounce that. So, you have the mother Gryla. You have the lazy lump of a father. You have the kids who do mischief and mayhem. And then you have the Yule Cat who eats people. What a fearsome, fearsome family. So fearsome, in fact, that in the 18th century, the government decided that this was so petrifying to kids, that it was traumatizing to kids, that they actually outlawed using this story as a fear tactic to get your kids to behave. They outlawed it. It was prohibited by the government, which is what outlawed means. So you couldn't use it as a fear tactic. So Gryla needed a makeover. So instead of being this scary evil being that ate kids, she became the mother of the Yule Lads. She was the mother, but that's all she was now. She wasn't a giantess who ate kids. She became more friendly and goofy and even a witch. And the Yule Lads, instead of licking spoons and doing all the horrible, horrible things they did, now if you were bad, instead of just pretty much letting your family die in the winter, they would give you a rotten potato in your shoe. You just don't get gifts in your shoes on the windowsill. You get a potato. That's it. You're bad. You don't get nothing. You get potato. Well, I don't know about you, but I take that potato, make french fries, and have me a good old time. And then the Yule Cat slowly lost its luster. And the dad was really unheard of in general anyways, so what's the point? But now we have a wholesome, happy family for Iceland to enjoy. But I don't know about you. I will always remember the fearsome stories, the scary ones, the fun ones. And as for you, and as for me, have a blessed Yule, a blessed Christmas, a blessed holidays, and most of all, go do magic. Bye, guys.